let's get started. So, Splunk ITSI. Splunk ITSI. Get on the right screen. Yes. So, quick overview of what we're going to be covering. Just say I'm going to keep this fairly short and sharp. Going to see if we can get this done and dusted in 30 minutes. So, we're going to look at what Splunk ITSI is, why you should use it, what tools it will give you and your teams, and we're then going to have a very brief look at Somerford's approach to delivering an ITSI project, our glass table methodology. So first, what is ITSI, or what is a service, or really first, what is ITSI? ITSI, Splunk ITSI is Information Technology Service Intelligence. And really, I'd like them to drop the IT part of that. It's really about service intelligence, and it's not just narrowed down to information technology. So here are a couple of ITIL definitions for us. Service is a means of delivering value to customers by facilitating outcomes customers want to achieve. Okay, sounds good. And more specifically, an IT service is made up of a combination of information technology, people, and processes. And one of the reasons I put that quote up there is because the people and processes are a key part of making this work. Your operational approach to how you use ITSI within your organization will have a huge impact on how successful it is. Okay, so we're going to go over some key ITSI concepts here. We think of things in terms of services. There isn't a strict definition of a business service versus a technology service within ITSI. They're both just services. So really, this is more a conceptual difference. Business service, we've got a few examples here: product sales, order fulfillment, etc. A collection of activities that achieve a particular goal, as we saw from that definition earlier. And that will be underpinned by a selection of technology services. Okay, logical groups of technology components, things that work together. And any given technology service might support multiple business services, and likewise, those business services may support other business services. So we will look at, as part of the process, we go through how these things connect, how the interdependencies come into effect. So for both technology and business services, we define KPIs, key performance indicators, and the key word there is key. These are the things that really tell you what's happening. So whereas things like, I don't know, CPU, memory, those are useful diagnostic tools, they don't necessarily tell you what the impact is on your users. That's really what this is focused on. What KPIs are going to tell you what is really happening? So latency at the bottom there is a good example. If you've got a user on a website, the latency, the delay that they're experiencing is a key performance indicator for their user experience. And then underpinning all of this is the actual hardware, usually that's sitting underneath primarily the servers that are driving all this. And those are the entities that we refer to in ITSI. Okay, so what are you trying to achieve? What is it that you're trying to move forward? Okay, a few key questions here to ponder. What does good look like? What is it that it actually represents a good state of health for your systems? Are there particular improvements that you've got in mind? Maybe a major change is coming and you need to have eyes on that. Maybe there's an area of the business that isn't performing the way it should be. Can we use this tool to address that? SLAs, internal SLAs, client SLAs. Are there things there that you need to have clear visibility on and visibility of your estate? Do you really know what's happening? You've got cloud components, you've got on-prem components. Do you have clear visibility of what is happening with all of those? And also, what sorts of incidents are impacting your business? What things are happening, or have you had a major incident that's had an impact that you perhaps need to have clear review of, either historically or going forward? So what is ITSI going to give us to help address those sorts of questions? Well, alert overload is a common problem. And what ITSI will do is help focus that, trim down the number of alerts, and really get to the point the nub of what actually needs to be addressed. We get visibility at all levels of the business, not just management, but all levels of the business. And one of the key things that we often find is a driver for this is reducing mean time to identify and mean time to resolve problems, failures, incidents. And then it gives an overview of performance, system health, integrity, and to some degree security as well. So what can we achieve? Well, what we set out to do in many situations with clients is move them from being reactive to incidents to being proactive, getting in front of the problems, dealing with them more efficiently, and then ultimately, with some of the more sophisticated tools within ITSI, become more predictive about incidents and actually prevent them from happening at all. So Splunk ITSI will help you move from being reactive to incidents to being proactive and ultimately predictive in your response. Okay, so just into the structure of this a little bit. How do we build a service? What does it look like? This is a sort of simplified representation. You've got a business service sitting at the top, the technical services underpinning that, and the KPIs that represent the health or can represent the health of those technical services. And it's worth mentioning here that business services can have KPIs as well as technical services. You might have, for example, your income for that day as a business service KPI that is separate from your technical service KPIs. So what is the service design process in ITSI? So we identify high-value business functions and services. A few examples here: payments, order entry, manufacturing. And then the supporting technical and application services is very important as well, that underpin, that support, that drive those business functions and services. Yeah, key examples there, things like middleware is often overlooked, your database, the core of what's going on, that sort of thing. And for each of those services, we then go through a process to identify relevant KPIs. And I'll emphasize that again. These are the key performance indicators. These are the things that are really telling you what the health of your systems is like. And I haven't mentioned Splunk very much underneath in all this. This is a Splunk product, and it sits on top of Splunk's tried and tested log aggregating processes, all that data sitting in there that we can derive value, get value from. And underpinning those KPIs is a Splunk query that we're hopefully all familiar with. Okay, so thinking now about the specific tools that we have at our fingertips with ITSI. These are the sorts of UE components we can use. You can see on the right here, we have a diagram, a picture of a glass table, a deep dive below it with its swim lanes, which I'll come to. So I'm going to be doing a demo of all this in a minute. Service analyzers, kind of high-level view of the state of play of everything in one place. These components can be linked to Splunk dashboards. So if you've already developed tools for example, an application, you might already have a Splunk dashboard set up. We can link that into this as well. And through all the data that we use, all the structures we put in place, we can drive alerts, generate notable events, and produce reports. Okay, time for a live demo. We all know how this goes. Wish me luck. Okay, that's not the screen I was supposed to start on. It's going well already. Okay, so what I'm going to do is take you through, or give you examples, I should say, of 3 different users' experience and use of ITSI. Okay, so we have a kind of level 1 analyst. We've got a higher level analyst, a level 2, level 3 support analyst, and then an executive management type of user to show the sorts of tools that they can use and how they're relevant to those different approaches. So starting with our level 1 analyst, and the key tool for them is probably going to be this, the service analyzer. So this gives a broad overview of all of our services. You can see we've got 47 services all listed out, and everything's green. That doesn't usually happen, but today everything is working well. And we scroll down and we've got the specific KPIs, and we see a couple of things just not quite perfect, but probably worth a look. Disk space usage at 91.7%, probably worth a look. So to explain, we've got a lot going on here, but you've got spark lines showing how these different KPIs have performed over previous hour. Over the previous 12 hours. You can see up in the top right there. And this is the top 50 being shown, and this is currently unfiltered. The scores, if they're scoring 100% means it's a percentage, all's good. Okay, you can see there we've got on-prem database just dropping down slightly. And we can filter this as well. So we can filter this, let's say our old friends Buttercup, we can put a wildcard in there. And if we spell it correctly, let's try that again. We will see Buttercup service here, Buttercup store, and its components, component KPIs. And that can then be saved and reused by an analyst at a later date. We've got other service analyzers showing here that have already been put together. And if we have a look at this one, IT infrastructure, what we'll see, I'll just hide that for a minute, is this lovely tree. This is our dependency tree. This shows how all of these services connect to one another. And this is a key feature. This diagram is generated automatically based on the information that we feed into the system to show how these dependencies, how these things link to one another. So yeah, it's a really nice visual tool, and then we can flip back to the standard one. And within this, if I go back to our default service analyzer, we can drill down. So let's say we've got an issue. Our on-prem database is not 100%. Let's have a closer look, see what's going on there. And you can see that disk space, as we identified before, is a bit of an issue. It's set to a medium severity, so you get set thresholds on your KPIs. This one's set to a medium severity, and by drilling down, we can see that MySQL2 is the culprit here. That one is the one that's slightly off. So let's just take a quick closer look at that. And you can see we've got some basic information about performance in context with the other metrics measuring for this particular server. And from here, we can jump into Splunk App for Infrastructure that gives us a wealth of information, far more detail. And so that analyst can start digging into the problem, digging into the issue, and start to see what might be going on. So that's the kind of simplest view, if you like, of the data in your system. Let's take a look at it from a higher level, a more concerted view for a level 2 or 3 service analyst. And let's have a look at deep dives. And we saw a picture of this in the presentation. So a deep dive consists of these swim lanes, and the key thing about this is all the data, all the metrics you're seeing here, all the measures you're seeing here are in the same time frame. So this is a really powerful tool for looking for root cause. And there's a lot you can do with this. I should say that today I'm giving a very quick demonstration, but if you want to see more information, more detail about ITSI, we do more in-depth workshops that go into the detail of this more. So if you're interested in that, please let us know. So yeah, I'll do a couple of quick things here. Let's say we're not really so interested in these ones down here. CPU utilization is not very interesting, so let's get rid of those. So we'll just delete those. And okay, so let's trim things down again. And we're sort of looking for a problem, and you can see on the right-hand side here, we've got the dependency tree, so you can see where this particular service authorization, where it might be having an impact. But we can see some activity here, so we can zoom in on that time frame, just select that, and have a closer look, and maybe see what what was going on. So as I say, really useful tool. Some clients we work with build dozens of these to represent all their different service and service situations. Really powerful tool. So that's deep dives. And then the other key thing I'm going to show today is episodes. So yeah, we leave this out. The reason why it's asking that is because this can be saved, like we showed with the service analyzer, that can be saved for reuse. So you can use it as an analytical tool, but you can also save it and reuse it to just keep an eye on things. So this is our episode review. At the top, we've got some general stats. I'll get rid of that for now. And so this is this in a way is a bit of the secret sauce behind ITSI. These episodes are generated automatically, uses some machine learning algorithms to determine how to cluster and group different notable events that are generated by the system. And it produced these episodes. And an episode roughly aligns with an incident, but it doesn't have to be an incident. So we don't call it that. It is simply an episode of related activity within the system. So we've got an authorization issue here. And again, as we were looking at before, we've got this helpful visual here showing how authorization links into everything else. And there are lots of things we can do with this episode. I'm going to just touch on a few of them very quickly. Across the top here, we've got the severity. It's set to medium at the moment. That can be overwritten. It's currently new. Status can be changed. It can be assigned to someone. And here we've got a series of actions. And this is really the key to this. There are lots of things you can do with this episode. You can see we've got two integrations listed here with BMC Remedy and ServiceNow. And if you've got another tool, you can simply link a ticket to it by putting the name of the system, the ID, and the URL in there. If you've got a script, let's say we've got a scenario where we've got a known solution, you can run a script directly from here, send an email. There are lots of possibilities here. It is a very powerful approach to managing these sort of situations. And there's a lot of extra information here. Again, if you want to see more about this, please let us know, and we can go into more detail in this. But yeah, this is really the core of it. This is how we use ITSI to drive alerting, manage alerting, reduce the amount of alerts generated so that it's more focused, and then it can be linked into other ticketing systems if you're using those. So that is our second, third level analyst views. And then finally, we'll have a quick look at glass tables. So glass table is a way of giving an overview, oversight of your whatever it is you actually want to show. So let's have a quick look at this one. Get rid of that message and get the sizing right. So this is our executive dashboard. This is our grand overview of everything. And this is, let's say, a very high-level view, but you can have more granular views for each department or each section or whatever area you're interested in. And the great thing about glass table is a very flexible way of presenting information. You can show how things are connected to each other, how they flow into each other, and get a real sense of perhaps where a bottleneck might be, or an issue, or an incident might be having an impact further down the line that may not be that the particular team responsible for that may not be aware of the impact it's having further down the line, but this overview will show that. And you can see various different widgets, as they're called, which are showing amounts, percentages, depending on whatever it is. Over here, we've got a spark line showing how things have changed in the last hour. And these glass tables can be connected. So we have drill downs off the widgets. We can drill down to other glass tables, to deep dives, to service analyzers. You can go to a dashboard in a different Splunk application. You could go to a URL outside of Splunk altogether. So it's a very flexible tool. Glass table kind of gives the impression of just having that overview. And that's also why we refer to our approach to managing an ITSI project as a glass table methodology. We lay it all out. You can see the process from end to end and get that oversight. That makes it much easier to manage. So yeah, the glass table giving you that overview of whatever is relevant to the individual who's who it's being built for. And with all these different tools, I'll reiterate the point, consideration needs to be given to how we're going to use them in your business. How do these tools help you achieve what it is that you need to achieve? And that's a key part of the discussion we have around it. So moving on to how Somerford approach ITSI and an ITSI project. We've been working with ITSI for a number of years now. We've run a lot of these projects. We've got a lot of experience, and over time we've kind of brought together our experiences and formalized it, but not too much, but formalized it into what we call a glass table methodology. It is a tested and repeatable process for successfully defining, building, and delivering ITSI to support business and technology services. Okay, sounds promising. So what's different about it? Well, delivery is incremental. So we're not trying to deliver all services in one big hit. That would require big change management process, lots of in-depth analysis up front, and things change. Things change quickly. So we deliver incrementally. We focus on a small number of services for each phase of the work, and we also make a point of separating the data onboarding process from the ITSI delivery. The reason for that is that ITSI is a product that suits particularly well a mature Splunk environment. And by that, I mean a Splunk environment that already has data in it. So the data onboarding may not be necessary. In other words, you may already have all the data you need for ITSI in place. But at the same time, there may be things extra that you do need to bring in. So we separate it out because it just means that we can focus on the ITSI components. The data is considered separately. We have a very structured approach to the analysis upfront for the services that we identify. That, in many ways, is the same as others would do it, but we deliver it in an iterative manner. So I'll mention again the operational approach. It's difficult sometimes to see what the operational tools that you might want to use are going to be before you see the tools in action. In other words, until we've got the data, we've got the services, we've built the KPIs. So at that point, we think is most effective, or we have experience is most effective at actually working out what the tools that are going to work are. And because we've got the data and we've got the structures in place, they can then be refined and iterated quickly in order to deliver exactly what is going to give best value to the teams that will be using it. And also our approach is flexible. Because we're not trying to boil the ocean and represent all of our services in one go, in one big hit, we can be flexible. We can do one service, two services, and then stop and take a break, or rather give time to review and reflect and say, okay, is this working? Is this something we can improve on? Get a bit of internal buy-in so that other teams can see the benefits, and they'll say, okay, well, we'd like to be considered to have an ITSI service built for us and let that develop. So yeah, we can be very flexible in our approach to working with ITSI in your business. So break the process into 5 phases. Initiation is the kind of pre-sales work, introducing you to the product, going into depth about that so that you really understand what it can do for you. And then we get into the meat of the analysis. And this is where I'm just going to go into a little bit more detail very briefly, talking about the service identification and service decomposition workshops. We go through the onboarding phase, which I mentioned we keep separate because there are lots of different variables that affect that we don't want to impact on the actual ITSI delivery. And then when we get to the delivery, we plan it at that stage. So we don't try and plan it in advance. We wait till we've got data. We wait till we've done the analysis. Then we start actually planning the delivery itself. And when it comes to the UE development and the actual active component, the alerting strategy, the operational model, then that is the point at which we discuss that, deliver that, and iterate it to fine-tune it for your needs. But once we've done all that, a standard sort of handover at the end of a project, but also a key part of this is enablement. We want to share the knowledge of how to do this so that each iteration, each phase of work that we do, more and more of that work can be done in-house. And ultimately, you'll be able to build services and all the components within ITSI without us being required to be there and on site working with you. But obviously, we'll be there to support you. So, very briefly, service identification, two key parts to it. We'll look at what technology, business and technology services are candidates. We narrow that down to a manageable list, and then we work out which service, and I really do mean service ideally, single service, do we start with. And to do that, we've developed this service identification scorecard. I'm not going to go through all of it now, but this helps us determine which is the most appropriate service or services to start with. By scoring them and working out the pros and cons of each one in a quite a prescriptive manner, we can come up with a way of deciding which one to start with. And then the service decomposition, once we've chosen a service, we go down into much more detail, much deeper. So we've identified so we need to understand key functions of the business service to be monitored, then which technology services make up that business service, the components, and then what do you care about? And I'll go, emphasize this point again. What are the key performance indicators? What's actionable? That's another key part of this. What is actionable? What do you actually want to drive an action? Do you want to drive an action from a high CPU usage? Probably not. But do you want to drive an action from high latency? Yes, you probably do. So we define our KPIs, and then we identify the data that we need in order to build that KPI. So that is very briefly an introduction to Splunk ITSI. I hope that's been informative. Please get in touch and follow up with us if you'd like more information. We can do a more detailed demonstration, go into more detail about how Somerford approaches the glass-tailed methodology. We can run workshops on ITSI to go into it in more depth. So please get in touch with us, and thank you very much for your time.